Hello, welcome to the Indiana State Police Public Information Program. I'm your host today, Senior Trooper Dave Burston, Public Information Officer for the Indianapolis State Police Post. We're coming to you today from Lake Monroe, and we have a special guest that I'd like to introduce, Master Conservation Officer Jeff Wells. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dave.
And actually, I guess I should say thanks for welcoming us out to Lake Monroe.
Absolutely.
We're going to be spending some time today with Jeff talking about the different things that conservation officers do, and especially devoting some attention to safe boating, the importance of having protective vests with you, and we're also going to talk about BWI, boating while intoxicated. So let's see what the day brings us, and we're going to have some fun today, hopefully. The stop here was for sitting on the gunnel, which is a safety hazard because if the person were to fall off, they go right into the prop wash.
16. Negative, you can signal 9 any further.
How you doing today?
Give it 263.
Is your registration handy there? Okay, let me pull over here to you. Your boat, sir? Yes, sir. Okay. Tell you what, let me see some life jackets for everyone. Just hold them up, that'd be great.
And Officer Wells is checking for life jackets now.
That's great. Great, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The reason I stopped you is because the young fellow sitting on the gunnel.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You're not allowed to sit on the gunnel during operating the boat. So you need to stay seated. I'm not going to write you a summons. I am, however, going to write you a warning ticket. It doesn't cost us anything. You don't have to clear the court. Just lets you know that we talked about it and keep things squared away for me, all right?
Okay.
Do you have any other identification with you, sir?
Yeah, I got my driver's license.
That's worth a warning right there, isn't it, Jeff? Actually has the license with him. That's good.
Great. You all just come out for the day?
We're going to spend the night over Hardin Ridge.
Uh-huh. Camping out, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what probably best, since it's pretty choppy out here, I'll just shove away from you. Let me get this written up, and then we'll pull back alongside of you. So just hold on for a little bit. I'll be right with you.
Thanks.
Thank you. What we've done is this gentleman was operating his boat with a passenger riding on the gunnel, and as Dave was saying earlier, that is a safety concern. If that passenger were to fall overboard, they're likely to go either hit their head on the side of the boat or go into the prop. Considering the circumstances, it is the operator's responsibility to make sure that the occupants are complying with the law, so that it's the operator's responsibility. And in this case, I've chosen to issue the operator a warning for that violation.
Jeff, probably one of the first things we should talk about when we talk about water safety is having life jackets, which are called personal flotation devices. What are some of the requirements for people that are out boating here on Lake Monroe?
The legal requirements are that they have a life jacket on board for each person on board. And they have to be Coast Guard approved. The jacket will say right on the inside of the jacket that they are in fact Coast Guard approved.
I see.
There's a variety of different types of life jackets, and some are they're categorized into different types. But basically, some provide more flotation. Some are designed to right an unconscious person head up in the water. Others don't provide as much buoyancy, so they're not quite as effective, particularly if you were unconscious. So the minimum requirements are that they have a life jacket, Coast Guard approved life jacket on board for each person on board.
So that means that they can't just have a flotation seat cushion. They physically have to have a life jacket for each person on board.
That's a good question, because the cushions are in fact Coast Guard approved.
Okay, so that is considered an approved device.
Yes, there is some misconception, because on waters of Coast Guard jurisdiction and in Indiana, where we'll be talking about Lake Michigan and the Ohio River, the cushions do not meet the minimum requirements. But currently on Indiana waters, like on Lake Monroe, where we are today, a cushion would meet those minimum requirements.
How often on a day like this would you expect to come across people that do not have PFDs on board?
Surprisingly, it's not uncommon. We frequently will have people who, and the typical scenario will be that maybe 2 or 3 of them boat together in a boat at one time, and then they get together with another family, come out, and they just don't have enough jackets on board. So they're fairly inexpensive, and we encourage people to have an abundance of those on board. It's always better to have more than you think you would.
Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
That's the truth.
And the other, I think, important thing, Dave, to realize is that they are referred to as personal flotation devices. So they need to, and in order for them to meet the minimum requirements, they need to fit you as an individual. And obviously, if you're talking about an infant on board the boat, an adult life jacket is not going to be sufficient for that infant.
They could just slip through it.
Exactly. And vice versa. An infant jacket is not going to be sufficient for an adult. It's just not going to provide enough buoyancy and doesn't meet the minimum requirements.
What are some other concerns that you have as far as safe boating concerns, some things we could pass on to our viewers?
I think safe boating is as much a frame of mind as it is anything. We're just as with safe driving, we're concerned about trying to prevent accidents, and I guess accidents by and of themselves are not planned. However, we know we can do things in any area to prevent accidents.
Sure.
And one of the things I think people have to, so it begins with a frame of mind, being safe on the water. And it could include everything from being familiar with your equipment to being familiar with the laws governing the operation of that particular vessel, and some general common sense rules of the road type.
Well, just like when we look at driving, most people have always heard the term drive defensively. I assume the same thing goes boating defensively. Be on the lookout for the unexpected.
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent parallel, and we do have to be. Most people, you may be comfortable with your own operating skills, but it's the other person you have to be concerned about as well. So I think operating defensively can be applied on the water just as it can be on the roadway. And we have to be attuned and alert to what's going on around us. Unlike on the roadways, we don't have yellow lines painted to really provide directional flow.
There's no right side and left side on the lake, is there?
Right, and so because of that, you have a little more erratic operation, and perhaps even more important that you be aware of what's going around you and a little more defensive-minded.
That brings to mind to me about the personal watercraft, the single occupant vehicles. I imagine that's probably created a lot of extra work for conservation officers, hasn't it?
They really have. It's kind of a new area, relatively new. There's more and more of them on the water. They're fairly inexpensive to purchase and trailer and operate. And it's not all young people operating them. I hear a lot of complaints about young folks operating those. They are motorboats, and they are governed by the same restrictions as any other motorboat.
So they have to be registered, don't they?
Absolutely, and they're not toys. I think sometimes people look at those type of craft as being more toy, and there's some of them that will run in excess of 60 miles an hour, and that's fast on the water. So I think from a young person's perspective, from an adult or parent buying one like that for a young person, they have to realize that they are motorboats, and all laws that apply to any size other motorboat applies to that personal water.
And some of those laws include if they're in a no-wake zone, they've got to idle through, they can't go zipping through. Can you compare what some of the laws are that are just the same for those type of craft as for a craft this size?
Right. The general operation, we have, operating in reckless manner, for example. One of the things with a personal watercraft that seems to be part of the enjoyment in operating those is jumping the wake of a boat.
I see.
And we've had a tremendous number of accidents and fatalities, in fact, where operators of personal watercraft have been so focused on jumping that wake that they fail to see an oncoming boat, and so the operation in a prudent manner applies to that personal watercraft just as it does in a motorboat. We don't allow, for example, it's unlawful to operate a motorboat in a circular pattern around a boat, and oftentimes you will see that in a personal watercraft, and people don't realize that those same restrictions apply to the operation of that. It's actually a little more restrictive on the operation. Effective with the passage of new legislation, they are in fact the operators and occupants, any passengers riding on board that personal watercraft, are required to actually wear their personal flotation device.
So different than being, so there's one that's a little more stringent than on a regular craft. And I imagine it's because if you do hit a wake and you become separated from a personal watercraft, or if you hit your head on the craft, you've got to be able to stay above the water.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why that was enacted, is because people oftentimes fall off those. That's part of the operation of those to some extent, and certainly falling off and being a strong swimmer, people may think they can survive that, but bumping your head, knocking yourself unconscious, causing an injury where you're not able to keep yourself afloat, that jacket's going to have to keep you there.
So many things that can't be predicted.
No, and I think you need to plan. I think it gets back to what we talked about with being defensive-minded, safety-minded. We had talked a little bit about the other parallels with boat operation and personal watercraft. Certainly, boating while intoxicated, the same restrictions apply to that personal watercraft. Again, it's not a toy, it is a motorboat, and it's required to meet those same standards.
You just touched on BWI, boating while intoxicated. Are the laws the same as in driving a vehicle?
Absolutely, and that's one area. Boating is a recreational event,
Sure.
and people are out boating, certainly in Indiana, primarily for recreational purposes. So in that light, you oftentimes will see alcoholic beverages on board a boat. It's not unlawful to have those beverages on board, but it is unlawful to operate while intoxicated. And the guidelines for that being intoxicated are the same as they would be for operating an automobile.
And when we talk about that being the same as for an automobile, the legal limit for in the state of Indiana is 0.10%. So that's going to be the same on a boating craft, whether it's a personal watercraft or a craft like we're on now. Excellent point. Let's take a look around the lake a little bit more, okay?
Okay, great. Could you grab those fishing poles there? I don't want to break your rods. I'm going to pull alongside you.
Shows on his record as alerted to me.
You had any luck?
A little bit. We got a nice sized channel cat there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You over on the east side fishing?
Actually, we've been fishing a little bit everywhere.
Where'd you catch your channel at?
Back in the no wake area.
I'll get a little closer to you. Is it your boat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your trailer registration.
That's a trailer, or you need to see trailer?
No, this is your trailer registration here. How long have you had the boat?
About a month now. Approximately a month.
You've been to the Bureau and you've already been to the license branch?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Wait.
Right there. The one you just had.
The one you just put under your hand.
Yeah.
1017 advice, check the ground.
Have you purchased your registration numbers yet, your IN numbers?
No, sir.
Okay.
I thought they were supposed to mail those to me, or...
No, you've been assigned. See, here's your registration number that's been assigned to the boat right here.
Okay.
The IN for it, it's got 4 numerals and 2 alpha characters.
Right.
You need to purchase letters, and those will be, you need to buy them at least 3 inches tall and then display them on both sides of the bow of the boat.
Okay.
So right up in this area here on both sides.
Okay.
And so all the Bureau will do is assign you a registration number. It's up to you to purchase those numbers and make sure they're on the vessel. So
Okay.
that was the reason why I stopped you. After I came up, I see your expiration decal there, but you do need to get those and make sure they're properly displayed.
Will do.
Alrighty?
Will do. Do I need them on both sides of the boat?
That's correct.
Okay.
There should have been some information along with that. Did you get a copy of the boating laws You read the branch?
I'm sure I did. I have a bunch of stuff back there. I haven't gone through most of it yet.
Okay. There's a picture in the boating laws that shows how those numbers are to be displayed.
Okay.
And they need to be 3 inches contrasting the color so that they can be readily visible.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a legal requirement, so you need to get that done immediately.
Okay.
When
Not
you're
a
going back
problem.
home.
Right. We're gonna fish tonight, so we'll probably leave late tonight, maybe around 1 or 2 in the morning.
Okay. With it being a new boat, you know, we give you 30 days to get that squared away, so you're pushing that, so
Okay, I'll get it
taken
done
care
right
of.
away.
In addition to that, without those numbers displayed, there's likely to be other officers stop you, and it just won't you won't be interrupted as frequently as get those on there and get them displayed. Okay. So where are you camping at?
Actually, we're sleeping on the boat.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That works.
It was nice out last night. There was no wind or anything, so.
Is that you?
Yeah. I don't have a license or anything.
How many people do you have on board the boat?
Count.
Let me ask this first. Where are y'all from?
Evansville. Everybody's from Indianapolis, Evansville.
You IU students, or what
Yeah.
brought you down here?
Just down there over the summer.
We were just gonna go get in the cove and stay there.
Okay. The complaint we'd received was that this boat's overloaded. The boat's carrying capacity is 35. So
See, we
obviously
got,
it's a large boat, and we're going to need to do a head count.
we got two
Not
other
at this
guys.
time. I've got the boat up here now.
We got 2 other guys.
Claire, approximately how many people going down?
You'll have to stand by. I'll let you know.
We
Go
got
ahead.
2 other guys coming in boats. So
Yeah, they're gonna meet us out.
we're waiting on them.
So do you have any idea how many people you have on board?
Probably, say 55, 50 maybe.
Where did you load the rest of the people on board the boat at?
Right there, that dock, or whatever. Landing? I guess that's what it's called.
At the causeway, you mean? You didn't load them on where you rented the boat, right?
We loaded some of them. We loaded some others on that land where it comes down.
Well, what we're going to need to do, and it's going to be, I'm going to rely on the 2 of you, since you've rented a boat and you're operating the boat. It's the person's operating the boat's responsibility to make sure everyone's in compliance with the laws. So
So I'm go
it's
for
your responsibility. It's just like an automobile. You go by Joe or Joseph?
Joe.
Okay, Joe. Just like an automobile, the driver of the automobile is responsible for the behavior of the occupants of it. Same thing applies on the water with the operation of a motorboat. The operator's responsibility. We're not here to rain on anyone's parade, but there's laws that govern things like this, and over-carrying capacity is a real concern. But these vessels aren't designed for that many people over.
Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong on any statements here. This craft is rated for 35 people, so you've instructed them all to grab a life jacket, and that way you can ensure that you're not counting the same life jacket twice. And those that, if they do not have enough life jackets, what's the next step then?
What there's 2 issues. One is making sure everyone has a life jacket, or that there's a life jacket on board for every person. The other issue is that according to the owner of this boat, it's also beyond its carrying capacity. Each boat has a limit as far as the number of passengers, total gross weight on board. And it appears at this point, at least, as though there's more people on board the boat than what the boat's manufactured to hold.
officers is far enough out.
Yeah, you're good.
Hold on to you.
Yeah.
Go farther.
Do you know Matt? Where's Matt at? Do you know how many people you do have on board? You have more than 35, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell you what,
Just take a
we're going to need to take people off anyway. You obviously don't have enough life jackets for everyone on board. It's my understanding, according to the information from the fellow who owns the boat, is there's 35 life jackets, which is the number of people the boat's allowed to actually carry. So we're obviously going to need to take some people off. I think the best way to do this would be to go back over to the area where you picked them up, where their vehicles are at, and we can unload there, and then I can take care of the paperwork at that time. What I'm going to do, as I said, Joe, you're odd man out, buddy. as the operator, you're responsible. If you want to share the expenses, I would suggest that some of your friends consider that, since you're kind of left holding the stick here.
How stiff is this going to be, officer?
I can explain all that to you. You'll still be able to afford to go to next session in college. So it's not going to break you, but it is a serious concern, guys, and I don't mean to make light of it, because I do a lot of diving. We lose people off boats. We have boats. You may have heard of the tragedy up in Hancock County a couple weeks ago, and that was due to the boat being overloaded. These boats, especially if you get a little rock and rolling going on here, a little party with this many people on board, and with a little wakes out here, you're going to take on water, and it's going to, we're going to have people in the water. So I will follow you up there, and
Put some people on your boat.
no, I'd rather not do that at this point. I will follow you. If there's any problems, I'll make sure we get those addressed, but I don't want to be taking people off there at this point and putting them on board mine. We're not going to be able to get enough people on here to make you legal anyway. So
Then we're going to be overloaded.
Let's give you a ticket. Yeah, we
the other suggestion I have for you, while it is legal for persons on this size of a boat to sit on the bow like that, it's a tragedy waiting to happen when you've got a group this size. But it's hard for you, Joe, as operator, to keep track of those people. If they go overboard, they're going right to the prop. So legally, you can do that. If they're your friends or good acquaintances, I don't suggest that they do that because they're liable to no longer be around. So if you can get everyone in the rails, what we'll do is go over. Tell me exactly, did you put in or pick up the additional people at the ramp? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to park there at the ramp?
We pulled up close.
There's like a big, I don't know what it is. It's a sand. There was like a place.
I haven't been over there. The water's up so high. I'm not sure what's over there right now. But
Yeah, you can pull up.
what we'll need to do is just find a place there, Joe, where you can pull up, unload the people, and then we'll take care of this. And then once we've done that, and you get enough off to where you can legally operate, you can go back on your way.
Appreciate it, officer.
All right. Just take your time getting over there, and we'll meet you over there. Each person that you're over carrying capacity, each person that you're shy a life jacket is a separate violation. I'm not going to write 33 violations, but I am going to write one for the carrying capacity issue and one for the life jacket. Okay, that's about as fair as I can be, and that's a hell of a break, frankly. I think you'll appreciate that. But it is a real concern. The carrying capacity on a boat like this, especially, like I say, you get out there having a good time, which I expect you to have, and you're over, and then all of a sudden you've lost a friend. So if you get the other people, it's going to take me a minute to take care of this. I don't know what your plans were as far as getting together with these other folks, but if you can divvy everyone out into vessels to where there's no one's over their carrying capacity, you can join up again. But make sure when you have this, that you have a jacket for everyone on board.
We've got 35.
And you have 35 of them is what I had them check with the guy who rents this, and that's how many they have on board. So, fair enough?
Fair.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So just stand by. The other issue we need to make sure we stay squared away with is the booze.
That's in
We've-
21.
I'm going to be out here for a while, and
We've
those
taken
of you
care
that
of
are not 21,
That's what we
there's a
said.
problem, okay?
Yeah. We told them.
Taps off.
So do you want us to start like maybe not like the excess people, or you want us to stay here, or what do you want us to do?
No, the people that are going to be getting off can go ahead and get off. I don't need them to stick around.
Jeff, if you could, just summarize the enforcement action that was taken with the overloaded pontoon boat.
What we did is I escorted them back to shore. They were 33 people over the carrying capacity and 33 life jackets short of what they needed.
So pretty
to be in
serious.
compliance. Yes, very serious, because a boat that size with that many people on board could easily capsize due to the overweight of the on board. So what we did is escorted them back to shore to confirm and make sure they could safely bank it back and get those additional passengers off. I chose in this case to write the operator, who's the one responsible for the operation of the vessel, 2 summonses, one for being over the carrying capacity or the number of people on board, and one for not having sufficient number of life jackets.
Which I think was more than fair, because in actuality, legally, he could have been given a citation for each violation. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And legally, each jacket they were short is a separate violation, so each one of those could have been a separate offense. And in this case, we're talking about young folks. I think we can all reflect back at times when we were young, but and realize that those things may occur, but we still need to be safe, and that's what we're doing out here.
And another thing it comes back to, I was watching you, and it comes back, police officers we're the same as other people. You want to be treated appropriately. Treat people as you would want to be treated. And I think that's also probably contributed to your decision just to issue 2 citations. They were all very polite and cooperative. They knew they were wrong, shouldn't have been doing it. And I heard several of them thank you as you got off their craft.
Right, I think. I mean, they handled it very well, real good attitudes, seemed like pretty good kids for the most part. So.
Okay, well, thanks for explaining that.
Okay, you bet.
Jeff, I really appreciate your hospitality. I mean that sincerely, and letting us come out and work with you, and seeing some interesting things, sharing the things that you have with our viewers. I'd like to ask, do you have any closing thoughts, things you'd like to share with our viewers?
Right, I think we could talk briefly about the fact that it is the operator's responsibility to make sure that folks are in compliance. And one of the areas, especially close like to the 4th of July weekend, that we frequently will run into is nighttime operation. We have a lot of people ask us about speed, and while typically there's no speed restrictions on a body of water like this, there is a nighttime speed restriction of 10 miles an hour. So I think that's important to make mention of, as well as the lighting requirements for those boats. Just like with, again, the automobiles out on our roadways, the boats out operating on the water at night between the hours of sunset and sunrise are required to have lights. It varies somewhat depending on the type of vessel, but in any case, most boats, the minimum requirements are going to be a bow light, green to starboard and red to port, and then
And I've heard of cases where people have replaced bulbs and they've put it on backwards unknowingly, and that could be disastrous.
Yes, it could be, and that's a good point, is not only with lighting equipment, but any type. We recommend, because there's a lot of occasions where marine parts are replaced with automotive parts, and they simply aren't interchangeable.
Aren't durable enough, are they?
And you get spark arresters on marine that limits that possibility of any type of an explosion. So it's important, I feel, on even minor repairs to make sure those are done by marine qualified mechanics, and certainly something simple, at least with the advice of marinists, so that you know you're getting the appropriate parts for your boat.
Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
And again, thanks to our guest, Master Conservation Officer Jeff Wills. My name, again, is Senior Trooper Dave Burston, Public Information Officer for the Indianapolis Post. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Public Information Program. And the next time you're behind the wheel of your car, remember to buckle up. The life you save may be your own or that of somebody you love. Till next time, bye-bye.